Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is Mindful Monday, and we are continuing with episode number 27 When the Screen Gets Heavy, Mental Health, Cyberbullying, and the Cost of Silence. Today is December 15th. Our weekly theme, Words Matter. Holding space in a loud digital world. Our focus is going to be on cyberbullying, mental health, compassion, accountability, and choosing humanity over harm, online and offline. Our core message here today is we don't always know what someone is carrying, but we do control what we add to it. Okay. So our goal will be awareness without sensitizing, sensitizing, validation without blame, hope without pressure. That was a hard word for me to say. Gosh. All right. So let's get into it. So there will be disclaimers and resources added in the description of this episode. Um, so let's get right into it. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you are tuning in. I am so glad you pressed play. Welcome to season 2 of Cup of Cocoa and Chat, the podcast, episode 27, where we savor the moment, think deeply, and hold space for real conversations that stir the heart. This is a place where we sip, share, and start the week with intention, warmth, and truth. I am Princess, and this week we are leaning into our theme of words matter, holding space in a loud digital world. Today is another Mindful Monday, and the energy for this conversation is gentle. It's about honoring silence, reflection, and the beauty of slowing down. Our topic today is when the screen gets heavy, mental health, cyberbullying, and the cost of silence. This isn't a conversation meant to shock or overwhelm. It's meant to invite awareness, compassion, and care. So, wherever you are, take a breath, grab your cup, cocoa, coffee, tea, or whatever brings you comfort, and let's ease into this moment together. So, let's start out with naming the weight without details. Okay? As we settle into this conversation, I want to acknowledge something many of us feel but don't always name. The world we scroll through every day doesn't live outside of us. It comes home with us. It sits with us in quiet moments, in our thoughts, and sometimes in our bodies. The internet is often treated like it's not real life. Like what happens online stays there, right? But the truth is, online spaces are extensions of our real lives. They are filled with real people, real emotions, and real consequences. Over time, those spaces can become emotionally heavy, not always because of one big moment, but because of the accumulation. The comments we read, the tone we observe, the things we see that we didn't ask to carry. Words spoken online don't disappear when we log off. They echo, they replay, they linger longer than we expect, especially for those already navigating anxiety, depression, or emotional fatigue. And sometimes the weight doesn't come from participating, it comes from witnessing, from watching conversations unfold, seeing harm normalized, or feeling the tension in spaces that once felt safe. Just because something happens on screen doesn't mean it stays there. Just because something happens on screen doesn't mean it stays there. If you ever closed an app and still felt unsettled, tired, or emotionally heavy, you're not imagining it. Your response is human. And that's why it's so important that we talk about mental health in digital spaces, not with blame, not with awareness and compassion. Sorry, not with blame, but with awareness and compassion. Mental health in digital spaces. When we talk about mental health online, we're not just talking about diagnosis. We're talking about daily experiences, about how constant exposure, commentary, and comparison can quietly shape how we feel about ourselves and others. Cyberbullying doesn't always look like loud attacks. Sometimes it's sarcasm, sometimes it's dogpiling, sometimes it's being ignored, dismissed, or reduced to a joke. And for someone already dealing with anxiety or depression, those moments can feel magnified. Anxiety can show up as overthinking in every comment. Depression can show up as a withdrawal or silence. But online, those responses are often misunderstood. People are told they're too sensitive, they're doing too much, or that they should just log off, as if emotional impact has an off switch. There's also the pressure of visibility, being seen all the time, having opinions analyzed, reactions reclipped, and moments replayed without context. The constant visibility can create a feeling of being watched instead of understood. And that's exhausting. Mental health struggles are often misunderstood online because the internet favors quick reactions over nuances. It's easier to label someone than listen. Easier to judge than to pause. And when that happens, people stop being treated like humans and start being treated like content. Reducing people to content is so dangerous. So dangerous. It discounts us from empathy. It makes pain feel consumable. And it forgets that behind every clip, comment, or post is a whole person living a life we don't fully see. Someone can be hurting and still be human. Someone could be flawed and someone could be complicated, but also someone can be worthy of care. If you ever felt misunderstood, overwhelmed, or dismissed online, I want you to know you're not alone and you're not weak for feeling that way. This is where we have to talk about the difference between accountability and cruelty, because they're not the same thing. They're not. Accountability versus cruelty, there's an important distinction we need to talk about, one that often gets blurred online. And that's the difference between accountability and cruelty. Accountability is about responsibility. It's about naming harm with the hope of growth, change, and understanding. Accountability invites reflection and it leaves room for learning. It leaves room for learning. Now, cruelty, on the other hand, is about punishment. It's about humiliation, mockery, and tearing someone down in the name of being right. Cruelty doesn't correct it. I'm sorry. Cruelty doesn't correct, it crushes. Cruelty doesn't correct, it crushes. Online cruelty often hides, behind phrases like, I'm just being honest, or they deserved it. But honesty without compassion becomes harm. I'm going to repeat that. Honesty without compassion becomes harm. And harm multiplied by an audience can be devastating. We've normalized dogpiling, where dozens or thousands of people pile into one person, each comment adding weight. And while one comment might seem small, the collective impact can be overwhelming. Okay? Accountability doesn't require an audience. Cruelty feeds on one. So accountability doesn't require an audience. However, cruelty feeds on one. Accountability can be quiet, direct, and intentional. Cruelty is loud, performative, and often fueled by outrage. We don't heal wounds by adding weight. We don't heal wounds by adding weight. Choosing not to engage in cruelty doesn't mean exercising harm. Doesn't mean excusing harm. Cruelty not s- choosing, this is making me, I'm trying not to be emotional while delivering this message, but this message is so important. Choosing not to engage in cruelty doesn't mean excusing harm. It means refusing to become another source of it. Sometimes the most powerful response is restraint. Sometimes it's disengagement, and sometimes it's silence. Before responding online, it might be worth asking, is what I'm about to say meant to help or to hurt? We see so many videos online that people post, whether it's about their day, how they're doing, sharing an experience, sharing a happy occasion, a sad occasion. And we often want to respond in negative ways to what we're looking at. So going forward, before responding online to anything that you may see or come across when you're scrolling, it might be worth asking yourself, is what I'm about to say meant to hurt or to hurt? I'm sorry, I'm getting my words all jumbled here. Is what I'm about to say meant to help or hurt before you respond, before you comment? Sometimes you could just be silent and keep just moving on. So that leads us to something just as important, how we protect our own peace while navigating these spaces. Protecting your peace online. Once we understand the weight of digital spaces and the difference between accountability and cruelty, the next question becomes, how do we stay connected without losing ourselves? How do we stay connected without losing ourselves? Protecting your peace online isn't avoidance, it's awareness. It's recognizing when something no longer serves your well being and giving yourself permission to step back. Muting, blocking, unfollowing, or logging off are not signs of weakness. They are acts of self care. You don't owe anyone access to your emotions, your energy, or your healing process. It's also important to check in with yourself after consuming heavy content. And I witnessed very heavy content on Friday. You have to ask yourself after consuming heavy content, and especially the heavy content that I encountered on Friday. How does my body feel right now? Am I tense? Am I drained? Am I anxious? Because those signals matter. How does my body feel right now? Am I tense? Am I drained? Am I anxious? Curating your digital environment is just as important as curating your physical one. Just like you wouldn't invite chaos into your home, you don't have to invite it into your feeds. And if you're someone who shows up in online spaces often, whether as a creator or participant, it's okay to take breaks. I take them all the time for my mental health, right? After seeing what I seen on Friday, I was already in a break, taking a break. And I was online trying to support someone. And this is when I encountered the traumatic and I don't want this to get heavy, right? I don't want it to be heavy. Rest doesn't mean you're falling behind. Sometimes rest is how you stay grounded enough to keep going. You need that rest, right? It's almost like fuel, right? It's almost like the nutrients to keep us going. So if you're able to take one slow breath with me right now, because this is getting a little heavy for me, I want you to inhale and exhale. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften because you deserve peace online and offline. I want to throw an affirmation in here right now. I normally wait till I'll sip on the word segment. Um, but to kind of ease this from heaviness, bringing it down more lighter, I am allowed to protect my peace without guilt. I am allowed to protect my peace without guilt. I am allowed to protect my peace without guilt. And when we protect our peace, we create space for something better, hope, compassion, and responsibility toward one another. So here's my personal reflection. Before we move forward, I want to pause and speak briefly from my own experience. Without details, without timelines, just honesty. I lived with anxiety. I lived with anxiety and depression long enough to know how quietly they can show up, right? Sometimes it's not dramatic. Sometimes it looks like fatigue, delay, silence, needing to step back even when you care deeply about what you're building. I've learned that when my mental health needs attention, pushing through doesn't make me stronger. It makes me more depleted. So, y'all, this is a new workspace for me, and I haven't gotten used to it. Um, and choosing to pause for me, or to reset, or to protect my peace isn't giving up. It's choosing sustainability for me. There were moments when I needed to slow down, not because I lost purpose, but because I wanted to return with clarity, intention, and care. Um, so if you're listening and you had to step back, delay a dream, or quiet your voice for a season, please know this. Your pause does not erase your calling. You are still worthy, you're still becoming, and you don't owe anyone your pain in order to believe. Sometimes the bravest thing we do is to choose ourselves, right? Sometimes the bravest thing we do is to choose ourselves. And it's from that place of care, awareness, and humanity that we can talk about hope, compassion, and the responsibility we have toward one another. So when we move through the world, and especially online, from a place of awareness and care, something shifts. We begin to see that hope isn't passive and compassion isn't optional. They're choices we make every day. Hope doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means believing that kindness still has power, even in spaces that feel loud or harsh. It means choosing to show up with intention instead of impulse. Compassion reminds us that everyone we encounter is carrying something, whether we can see it or not. A comment, a clip, or a moment online never tells the full story of a person's life. And with that understanding comes responsibility. We're responsible for what we say, what we share, what we repost, and what we laugh at. Every interaction is a choice, one that can either add weight or offer light. Human responsibility means pausing before we respond. Think before we speak. Asking ourselves whether our words are necessary. Are they necessary? Do I have to comment? Do I have to give my opinion? And I know some of you are saying, well, people post things online so that the world will know or to get a reaction. Not everything deserves a reaction, and not everyone is looking for a reaction, and especially not negative reaction because we don't know how that negativity impacts that person because maybe they thought they were looking great. You know, when they post those outfits or to get what is called uh, come get ready with me or those type of things, right? I don't know. I don't know. Again, asking ourselves whether our words are necessary, helpful, or kind. It means recognizing when silence is safer than commentary and when checking in matters more than being right. We may not be able to change the entire internet, but we can change the space we occupy. We can create moments of care. We can choose not to contribute, contribute. I'm sorry, some words I contribute to harm. And those small choices may consistently matter more than we think. Another affirmation I'm going to put in. My words carry weight and I choose to use them with care. My words carry weight and I choose to use them with care. My words carry weight and I choose to use them with care. So as you move through your week, I invite you to think about spaces you show up in, online or offline. Doesn't have to be online, it could be offline. And ask yourself, what kind of presence do I want to be? What kind of presence do I want to be in that space? Okay? What kind of presence do I want to be? So let's take a moment to bring this conversation home. Let's go into our sip of the word segment. As we prepare to close today's conversation, I want to take a moment for what I like to call our sip of the word, a pause to center ourselves in faith, truth, and hope. Okay? Our scripture of today comes from Proverbs 18:21. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Proverbs 18, verse 21. This verse means this verse reminds us that our words matter more than we sometimes realize. They can comfort, they can wound, heal, or harm, build, or break. In a world where words travel fast and far, especially online, with we are called to be mindful of what we speak and how we show up. Remember the question that I asked. But we want to be not perfect, but we always want to be intentional. So we don't always have to be perfect, but we want to be intentional how we show up. Choosing life without words doesn't mean we avoid hard conversations. It means we approach them with wisdom, humility, and care. I choose words that bring life, peace, and understanding. I choose words that bring life, peace, and understanding. Right? So let's breathe in and breathe out. As we hold that truth close, let's take a few minutes to gently close out today's episode. So, if this episode stirred something in you, pause, breathe, reach out, because you matter more than content. I'm not here to shame anyone. I'm here to remind us that behind every screen is a soul. So my final thought is to be mindful with your words and gentle with your hearts, yours and others. Be gentle. You never know what someone is carrying, but kindness always makes the load a hell of a lot lighter. Please share this conversation with someone who might need a little encouragement today. And if you found value in this space, I would love to have you join me again next week for more conversations that nourish the mind and soothe the soul. But before we close, I want to share something important. I told you that there will be disclaimers and resources in the description of this episode. But I want to share this with you. It's very important that I share this. I am not a mental health professional, but I do care deeply about your well-being. If you or someone you love needs immediate support, please reach out to the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. You are not alone. I'll be back on Monday, December 22nd with Season 2, Episode 28 of Cup of Cocoa and Chat, the podcast. So mark your calendar, pour your favorite drink. We're going to be in holiday mode. And meet me right here for more good vibes, meaningful conversation, and purpose-filled moments. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay encouraged, and as always, peace, blessings. I love you, and I mean it. Bye for now.